You're listening to a special presentation from Night of the Living podcast, Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone, revisited with Freddy and Joe. Oh, Joe, I'm so excited we're getting to the Shatner's first appearance.
Shatner. William Shatner.
It's so
first
good.
appearance in Twilight Zone. And I can't believe he still talked like that, even way back then.
He's a one-of-a-kind performer, right? And it seems like maybe he came out fully formed as William Shatner as a child.
Born with a full head of hair, looking just like this. Yes, the Shatner.
So, this one, Nick of Time. Original air date, November 18, 1960. This is the third of 7 episodes directed by Richard L. Baer, who we already talked about, Third from the Sun, The Purple Testament. But coming up, he also directed The Prime Mover, To Serve Man, which is an all-time classic, The Fugitive, and What's in the Box. If you want more on
What's
him.
in the box? Sorry.
An early Twilight Zone appearance by Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
Spoiler.
Yeah, whoops. For more on him, on Richard L. Baer, just check out our Third from the Sun podcast. We get into him a little more. This one was written by Richard Matheson, one of many episodes. I didn't even list them here, but, we talk about him frequently. This is a cast of 8, including Serling. Don Carter is a young professional who's just starting out, played by William Shatner. And this is his first appearance. He's going to come back one more time in season 5 for Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Another classic episode.
Indeed. This
is the first Twilight Zone episode to feature a Star Trek regular with William Shatner. Not only does William Shatner show up in this episode, but James Doohan, who played Scotty, comes along later in the seasons. Leonard Nimoy will turn up, and George Takei. They all were on the Twilight Zone, but none.
I didn't realize Nimoy and Doohan were here, but that's pretty cool.
It's kind of interesting when we get to those.
Nice.
Yeah, it's again lots of connections to Twilight Zone. I mean, and totally. Star Trek, the two of them.
Yeah.
He has a line in this episode, Don Carter, which when he reaches his boiling point, he says, "Don't treat me like an R-word child."
I noted that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for younger viewers who might watch this episode, that was actually like the clinical term at the time too. Like when we grew up, we would see people out in front of grocery stores collecting for MRDD, which was mental retardation is what, the MR stood for. And that was just it. But terminologies have changed. So in the context of the time, it wasn't like a slur, but it is now. Pat Carter, Don's concerned girlfriend. This is the first of 2 appearances by Patricia Breslin, who she's going to come back in season 4 for No Time Like the Past. She also appeared on an Alfred Hitchcock Presents and the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, which are, if you like Twilight Zone, you'll like those. They're just more grounded Twilight Zone style stories. They're based in kind of a realistic thriller setting usually, but the vibe is there. She has a line in this, "Dawn, it's just a napkin holder in a little cafe in Ridgeview, Ohio."
Love that.
The counterman, who's got kind of this just down homey personality, and this is Guy Wilkerson. He's been in a bunch of westerns and war movies, and you can kind of tell when you see him in this. But he's best known for The Fugitive, the movie, series, the 1963 series, not the movie. Trail of Terror from 43, so he's been around, and Captain Midnight from 42. He has the great line, "You're not going to enjoy that as much as the Country Fried Steak," when they order their shitty little sandwiches.
He pushes the steak, man. I tell you what.
He really wants people
just
to
really on it.
He needs to get rid of it.
Right. Yeah.
It's turning.
It's 3 days old. We got to get rid of this steak. You sure you don't want the steak? We got that steak.
So we got another Twilight Zone alumni Stafford rep playing the mechanic, who they dropped their car off to in the beginning, which is what brings him to this little town. He's going to come back in The Grave and Caesar and Me. But he's best known for playing Chief O'Hara in 66 Batman, the real goofy police chief who's always like, what do you think? Where's Batman? He has like the Irish accent, if I remember right.
Super thick accent.
Yeah.
Hey, Batman.
That's good shit. Fun character actor. This episode, it's not the first time that they use the backlot at MGM, the town square, to film it, but they have all these angles you don't see in the other episodes. And again, that's the famous like Back to the Future lot that is featured all over the place. I believe that's classic. The same one. Yeah. Yeah, it's in tons of stuff. But yeah, again, the weird angles. So you'll see parts you've probably never noticed before. The title was a pun. It's supposed to reference the last minute escape at the end of the episode, quote unquote escape, as well as the name Old Nick, which means the devil.
Right.
Richard Matheson, he said that he also considered it to mean nicking as in cutting, and that every time there's a piece of our life taken out. And I guess I
like that.
Yeah, he's kind of saying, I think that, in response to the fortune cards that are going to be in the episode. Shatner looks so small, by the way. This is just a note I made but he's not. He's a 5'10" at the, I think he's still 5'10", if we shrink. But that car he's standing next, the car they bring into town is so big. Yeah. It's so tall. It makes him look really small. It makes both of them look small. Yeah, Ridgeview, Ohio is not a real place either, which was a little disappointing, but what are you going to do? And lastly, Shatner carries a 4-leaf clover and a rabbit's foot on his keychain, which I thought was interesting. Yes. And he tells Pat, his girlfriend, to keep her fingers crossed while he's on the phone. He's like super superstitious in every way you can imagine. Just great stuff, though. Good performance from Shatner. I'm looking forward to getting into the story with you, Joe. You think you're about ready for that one?
I think so. I've got one more factoid to drop before we do, though. My understanding is that the director wanted to see if they could get Shatner's partner in this one to be his partner in Nightmare at 10,000 Feet as well. They were trying to double that up, but that didn't work out. So.
Yeah, that would have been great. Nice
right?
Callback. Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll get into the story right after this. All right, Joe, you ready to talk about
Let's begin. Yes. So the first thing to note is we open up and there is a couple, our heroes and our protagonists of the episode, in a convertible getting towed to the shop, and they're in the convertible. So I don't know, when that changed, but they're just hanging out in the car. You can see them, and they have this kind of bemused,
it was always illegal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
this kind of bemused look on their faces, and they're not stressed out or anything, but they're just hanging out in the back of this, just getting towed. And I was like, I've never seen the people actually in the car.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it was an odd, I don't know. It's an odd choice. I think it was the only way they could think to separate them from the driver. You know what I mean? Just for dramatic purposes, but
to make it really clear.
It's very strange. You won't see this in real life unless somebody's just nuts,
Yeah, exactly. So they stop and they pull into the garage, and the mechanic's like, yeah, your fuel pump's gone. It's going to take 3 hours. Or they say, how long is it going to take? He says, well, 3 hours, maybe 4, because we're going to have to get the part from out of town because we probably don't stock that locally. And so plan on 4 hours. So they plan on getting some lunch during this time. So they start walking, and it becomes clear they're on a cross-country honeymoon trip, and Don is awaiting some news about a potential promotion at work. And as they're walking, they come to a lamppost, and Don says, bread and butter, honey. And she was about to go around it one way, and he was about to go around it the other way as they were kind of holding hands. So he reaches out, grabs her hand, and kind of pulls her around. And
split the pole.
Right. And she says, yes, dear. And he says, I'm just trying to save your life. And never heard that phrase before. And so I looked it up, and bread and butter is like an old superstitious charm or a blessing, say for young couples specifically, or friends walking together when they're forced to separate by an obstacle, such as a pole or another person. By saying the phrase, this is from Wikipedia, the bad luck of letting someone come between them is thought to be averted, and both walkers have to say the phrase. If they don't, then a bitter quarrel is expected to occur, and there's another similar phrase like salt and pepper. So he says it, and she says, yes, dear. So she doesn't say it, which is kind of interesting. But they didn't actually get split by the pole anyway. So thought that was the first interesting thing that was kind of like, oh, I've never heard that before. And like you said, there's all these other little clues. Yeah,
it's like, it's one of those weird things where you're just like, how did it even catch on as a thing? It had to be kids, right? Or people who are also responsible for like witch hunts and that sort of thing. It's either little children who make it, or very old reverends and
some reason to kill somebody back in the Dark Ages or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or, in those medieval times.
Bread and butter.
So they go in the cafe, and this always kills me still. There's people smoking at the counter in the cafe, and I'm like, that's so weird to see. But
it's weird.
What happened.
We were going to this place in Kentucky as my mother-in-law lived there, and we were helping her through cancer treatments and stuff. So we started going to this place called the Pepper Pod, which now is just closed, but had been there since God knows when, the 30s or something. This old diner, and you could smoke inside.
Wow.
You could still smoke there.
So Kentucky, especially because there's so many tobacco, the industry is just huge there. So I think they just stick with it. But
it was real
that's
weird.
wild. It wasn't like a specific room. It was like the whole place.
The whole place was smoking, and it was also a place like where a lot of rough characters would hang out. You know what I mean? Like it was like, it was real cheap. The food is real cheap, and you could smoke in there, and a lot of it's just people who are clearly, just above rock bottom or whatever. It was just an interesting place. It wasn't Mos Eisley Cantina or anything, but
Hive of Scum and Villainy,
right?
It's funny, yeah. And then, there's some places I've seen a couple places still that were occasionally, very occasionally, usually when I'm traveling somewhere in that area, there's like a smoking room. But man, you go into those places and you can tell too, like it has that stale cigarette smell. It's like a old, like I used to go to my great grandparents' house, and their whole house smelled like that. And I was like, oh God, we have to go back there. Anyway, the things you remember.
Yeah.
So they go into the cafe, and she right away puts some money in the jute box for some reason. And as she does, Don comes up and kisses her on the back of the neck, and then turns her around and starts dancing with her. I'm like, oh, it's really sweet. They're clearly very much in love. And so she's like, we came here to eat. And he goes, oh, we did. So he's like, how about here? And then I can't not do the Shatner. They find a table, and they sit down, and he's like, a mystic seer. He's super excited to see this little napkin holder offers your fortunes for a penny.
And there's one on every table and at the counter and everything. So it's like, I want one so bad. They're so expensive, the replicas. But
oh, really? Are they?
Yeah, they're real expensive. Way more than you would think.
And so she puts a penny in, and he's like looking around. He's like, I know what to ask. And she says, what? He goes, does anything exciting ever happen around here? And gets the answer, it's quite possible. Dun, dun, dun. And so they do a close-up on the card, and then it's a freeze frame. And we get the voiceover from Mr. Serling, which is, the hand belongs to Mr. Don S. Carter, male member of a honeymoon team en route across the Ohio countryside to New York City. In one moment, they will be subjected to a gift most humans never receive in a lifetime. For 1 penny, they will be able to look into the future. The time is now. The place is a little diner in Ridgeview, Ohio. And what this young couple doesn't realize is that this town happens to lie on the outskirts of the Twilight Zone. So they order some food, right? The long, lanky guy from the Westerns walks up. He's running the cafe, and they order 2 tomato and lettuce on whole wheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're watching their figures.
I have never heard of a tomato and lettuce on whole wheat. Now that sounds super healthy,
Yeah.
but I can't imagine. I can't imagine it's real. Maybe it's super tasty. I don't know.
They're not going to like
and
it as much as the country fried steak. I
and
think
he's
you're
like,
100% correct.
he's like, "Are you sure you don't want a country fried steak?" And he's like, no. so so they get like 2 iced coffees with that. And I'm like, what kind of sandwich is that? So anyway,
Iced
he
coffee
walks
and
away.
tomato and lettuce sandwiches. It's like
Yeah, it's
the
like 4.
sandwiches they always put at tea time, you know, like cucumber
Oh,
sandwiches
sure.
and stuff. That
Yeah,
stuff
it's
always
like
confounded me.
5 calories for the sandwich. Um, and so they go in there, and so they're eating their sandwiches, and he liked the Mystic Seer, so he's getting really excited about it, right? So he's like, "Ooh, let's get some more coins." So he pulls some stuff out of his pockets, and one of the things he pulls out, he sets aside, and then he gets some coins, and he asks if he's going to get a promotion at work of the Seer, and the card comes out, and it says, "It has been decided in your favor." He's like, "Well, I'll call the office." So as he calls the office, he goes to talk to the operator. It's a long distance call. Pat is sitting there at the table, and she looks at what he pulled out of his pocket, and it's a rabbit's foot and a plastic 4-leaf clover. And it's just kind of interesting that you're like seeing these clues of like, oh, he seems to be kind of superstitious, but they say it, plainly later on. And I remembered the fact that people used to get rabbit's feet and carry them around like a rabbit's actual foot. It's
I
not a
did as a
euphemism.
kid. I did. I had a
Yeah.
rabbit's foot keychain.
I had one at one point too, and it's like I think mine may have been fake, but maybe not. Maybe it was actually a foot from a rabbit, which is just so weird,
Yeah, it is weird.
You think about it. So he makes the call, and he talks, and he finds out he's been promoted. He's got the job. So he's like, "You're looking at the world's youngest office manager." He's so excited to be an office manager, which is like, it's left super vague what that is, but apparently he is an accountant because he says accountant later, and she corrects him to office manager, which is kind of cute.
I just you got my curiosity up because we were talking about the rabbit's foot. Just a quick aside. They don't really know the origin of the rabbit's foot, but they think it has to do with fertility. It makes sense, like pagan stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Interesting. No, that's good. That's cool. So he's super excited about being an office manager. He then asks, what's the other thing he asks? He says something like, he asks if the car will be fixed in the promised amount of time, and I think they say you may never know. And he starts asking all these different questions. And one of them, he's like, he starts asking about what time they should do stuff. And then he's like, should we leave now? And it's like, it says something to the effect of like, no, you don't want to leave, I was like, what? And then he's like, well, what is it better if we leave later? Should we leave at 3? And it's like, can't remember the answer I gave, but they're all answers that would come out of like a fortune. They're all pretty vague.
It's magic 8-ball stuff.
Right. But it's all specific enough that he can put it to his situation and feels like it applies, right? So he realizes he looks at his watch, and it's 2:12 when he asks. And he suggests, or when he asked it if they should stay till 3, it was like, yes, you should. If you, how was it like? That would be a better choice, or something to that effect. And so he starts stalling, and she's like, let's just leave. And he's like, but I haven't finished my sandwich. And they talk about a moment earlier how the bread is stale and the water tastes like swamp water, and all this terrible stuff. So he stalls for almost 45 minutes, finishes the sandwiches, and then he gets ice cream after.
Another Twilight Zone ice cream in a glass dish. It's always one scoop of ice cream in a glass dish, and it's always half melted.
Who does that?
Yeah.
And so you see the time go by, and it's not quite 3:00. And she's like, can we go? And he's like, okay. He's trying to stall, but he's not holding on with it. And so he goes up to pay, and he's like, could I get the check? And the attendant was goes, yep, you don't need the check. I know what you had. 2 sandwiches, 80 cents, 2 iced coffees. And he adds that together. Turns out the iced coffees were 30 cents. And then 2 ice creams, and those were 50 cents for a total of $1.60 plus 3 cents tax for a lunch. Are you kidding me?
For 2 people.
For 2 people.
But to be fair, they had the tomato and lettuce sandwiches.
Right.
That's about what I would pay for one of those now.
Only 80 cents. Anyway,
really,
yeah, exactly.
80 cents, that's fair.
That's what these were worth. So they leave, and he's so distracted by this machine. He's like, it was uncanny, how accurate it was. And she's like, are you serious? Like, for real? And she's like, I'm worried about you. And he's like, worried about me? And she's like, it's not anything bad. It's just that you're, and he's like, don't say it. Superstitious. It's like you're married to an alcoholic, isn't it? It's like, whoa, that's dramatic. Only instead of bottles in the chandelier, it's rabbit's feet and 4-leaf clovers in my pockets in the car. And she says, and you're all mine. And so they reconcile pretty quick. And then they start walking again. But Don's still kind of looking around, and Pat calls him out on it. She's like, you are worried. You're worried about that? Oh, Don, I wonder when you act like this. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to upset you. It's a classic newly married guy apologizing for, something that he doesn't really understand why he's apologizing.
You know what's really refreshing about this couple in the context of the Twilight Zone to this point is they're like the first couple that really seem to get along really well.
Yeah, really. They like genuinely like care about each other, but then they get into a fight like immediately, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to upset you. And she goes, I know you're not. He goes, doesn't change the facts though. And she's like, what facts? He's like, 6 straight answers. And she's like, Don, please. And he goes, oh, stop treating me like an R-word child or something. I didn't make those answers up. And so like he's getting clearly agitated, and they're walking across the street, and they're kind of fighting, and they see a truck coming, and she says, oh, Don, wait. And he goes, we can make it. And he grabs her arm, and they have to dash like fast across the road, because on the other side of the truck, a car was coming around and like almost hits them. And I don't know how they did that scene with the stunt actors or something. Maybe they sped it up, but man, they almost got nailed by that car.
The angle was really planned out, just
it was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they like slam into this car on the other side that just narrowly, and they're honking and screeching wheels and stuff. And Don looks over, and it was 3:00 right when it happened.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Commercial. And so like he's like freaking out, and she's like, they come back from this. The next scene is she's like recovering, and like slowly coming back to it. But Don's like, I know you're skeptical, but I feel like we need to go back to the cafe. And she's like, why? And he's like, well, it predicted all this stuff. It knew we were going to do this thing. It knew what was going to happen. So let's just go back to the cafe. So like they're still bickering back and forth. And she's like, you need to stop with this. You got to quit. Why are we going back here? And he's like, well, if you're not afraid of it, then why don't we just go back? It's like, oh man, that's classic argument manipulation. So they're very much a, newly married couple.
Yeah.
And so they go back, and he starts asking it different questions, asking one about the car, and he gets the answer, it's already been taken care of. And a moment later, the mechanic walks in. It's like, hey, your car's ready. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, we found a fuel pump locally. I figured you'd be walking around for a couple hours, so I thought I'd come find you. Apparently it's that small of a town. And so they let him know, and Don asks him some more questions, and he's like, well, you try it, and she's trying to disprove it, right? So she's like, will we make it to Columbus by tonight? And he's like, we're not going to. And he realizes she's asking it a trick question.
Yeah, just like
and
a lie when you calibrate a lie detector test.
Yeah,
like,
and
lie
so
to me on purpose.
Exactly. The question or the answer she gets back is if that's what you choose to do. And it was like, wait a minute. Okay. So hers are accurate too. And so she's like, will I get married? And the answer to that is obvious. And so, you know, she's like had enough with it. And he starts asking about where they're going to live. And he's like, will we always live where we are? And will we, and he's not even reading, or he's not even saying the answers now. He's just reading them and then asking another question. He's really obsessed with it. And it gets to the point where he's like gripping the napkin holder, like from the back, like holding onto it, like quickly putting stuff in and asking another question. We'll live in the East. We'll live in the West. And she's like, are you, she's like done. She gets up and she's like, are you just going to sit there and let that thing run your life? And she walks away, right? She stands up and walks away. And he's like, run my life. And he looks over and realizes he's like got both of his hands around it, like he really cares about it, or like he has to hang on to it, right? And he kind of loosens his grip and realizes and with some effort kind of breaks away from it. And he gets up and goes over to her and he's like, run my life? He's like calmed down. You can hear him not snapping back. And she has this great soliloquy, I don't know, this great moment where she says, isn't that exactly what you're letting it do? Darn, it made you call the office before. It made you stay here instead of leave. It made you afraid to walk down the street. And now it's telling you where you're going to live. Why, it's as if every superstitious feeling you've ever had is wrapped up in that one machine. It doesn't matter whether it can foretell the future. What matters is whether you believe more in luck and in fortune than you do in yourself.
You gotta believe.
Well, you got to believe. Well, the great, what is it? The Great Big Wish?
Yeah, Big Tall Wish, I think.
Big Tall Wish.
Yeah.
There it is. Yes. That's what I'm referencing. She goes on, well, you can decide your own life. You have a mind, a wonderful mind. And I was like, a beautiful mind?
A marvelous mind.
A marvelous mind. Don't destroy it trying to justify that cheap penny fortune machine to yourself. And he's, again, kind of still trying. He's like, Pat. She's like, we can have a wonderful life together if we make it wonderful ourselves. And he's like, Pat. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to know what's going to happen. I want us to make it happen together. And she starts crying. And he's like, don't cry, darling. Don't cry. And recognizing like what's happening, he apologizes. And then he's like, you know what? You're right. We'll go. And he turns and you see the fortune machine in the foreground and him in the background. He goes, we're going to go wherever we choose to go. Like, I'm telling you. And so like they boldly leave. They boldly go where no married couple has gone before. And immediately after they walk out the door, a different couple comes in and they're both like distraught. The guy's a little disheveled. His tie is loose. And they look at each other and they're a little harried and they kind of nod and they walk over to the booth where Don and Pat just were, to that machine. And he opens up his hand and a bunch of coins fall down and he starts putting in coins. And before he puts in the first coin, he says, can we ask you more questions now? And he gets the answer back and they both are relieved, right? And so he asks another question. Is it okay to leave today? And he drops another coin. And as this is happening, the camera is slowly panning out zooming out. And when they get the answer to can we leave today, they're both kind of sink. And like, I think he covers his mouth and like she's like, her shoulders sink. And it's clearly like they're tied to the machine and they can't stop asking it questions. So he's like, will we ever get out of here? You know? And so you're seeing the dichotomy of the two couples, of one that has decided to just leave and this one that is like, cannot do anything but ask it questions. And we get Mr. Serling in the voiceover. Counterbalance in a little town of Ridgeview, Ohio. Two people permanently enslaved by the tyranny of fear and superstition, facing the future with a kind of helpless dread. And then it shows Pat and Don driving away in their car. Two others facing the future with confidence having escaped one of the darker places of the Twilight Zone.
What if this is all prequel to the Fever, and they become the old couple in the Fever?
They got the fever. It could be. It could be. Who knows? Later, they could go to win a prize in Vegas. They're the old couple. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, it's all connected. Actually, again, I do love that this couple is like the least toxic to date of the Twilight Zone couples.
Which is kind of saying something like, "Oof, that's relationships."
Yeah,
but it's one of those. The first time I watched it, I was very much kind of dismissing Shatner's performance and being into it. And then I was like, the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of superstition. Like, put yourself in that superstitious shoes. Would you be like, oh my God, I've been dreaming about a device like this that will tell me all the answers to the future? And then her speech, I listened to the second time and I was like, oh yeah. She's like, go live your life. Fuck that machine. Sorry, pardon my French. She's like, do what you want. We should do what we want, you know? And I was like, oh, that's totally like a life lesson right there. So
yeah, she was great. She looks like someone named Pat too. Pat's a good name for that character.
Yeah, they did use the Betty Walters like Vaseline filter for her a couple times. So I wonder if that was
it's like they tried to make her homely, I think, in a lot of ways, which I thought was a weird choice.
Yeah, like
you know what I mean? Like,
very grounded, motherly almost.
Yeah,
type.
that might be why they did that. You know, like they did some stuff with her hair. It was very like they were shooting for like a very plain, all American, I guess, kind of look.
Yeah.
But like you could still see underneath. You're like, this is a beautiful Hollywood actress under all that stuff, like traditional look. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
They had to. It's like what in our generation when Charlize Theron did Monster, and everybody's like, oh, she's become the unrecognizable. But this is the '60s version of that,
right? And I wonder if they did it during that speech to give her that kind of like, softness to encourage what she was, listening to what she was saying. Like now she's the voice of wisdom or something. And I don't know, they seem like an odd couple to me. Like he's the one who's out there and doing the things, and she's, who we don't get to hear anything about her life because, the 50s or 60s, whether. So anyway, and next week we've got Lateness of the Hour, which I think, if I recall correctly, has another married couple, but there's lots to do in that one too.
Yeah.
I immediately jumped to that, but I was thinking about it as we were talking here. So
it's also marks when they tried the failed experiment of shooting, like they started shooting on video with next week's episode. And it only lasted like I think 6 episodes before they switched back to film. But it is
really
jarring.
Weird.
It feels very different. It still feels like the Twilight Zone, probably because I just saw these episodes growing up and never questioned why they looked that different. But knowing it, going into it, and coming right out of an episode like Nick of Time on film and into one shot on video is kind of startling.
If you ever, if you're wondering what that video looks like, and you haven't watched this episode, if you've ever heard of the old show Dark Shadows, which I think was mostly done on video, it has that look. It's just kind of like, it's like watching an old soap opera.
Yeah. They even call it the soap opera effect. That is kind of what caught on as the term for it.
It was funny. I'm sorry, we're jumping into that episode early, but my brother once asked, he said, we were talking about something technical, and he's like, you know what I hate is when you watch a movie and it looks too real. And I'm like, oh, your screen is set up wrong. He said, not in my house, he said, but other people's houses. I'm like, yeah. So when you're watching that and it's too smooth, that's 30 or 60 frames or more per second. And I said, and you can set your TV to be 24 frames per second, which is what film is at, which gives it that film quality. And it was like, that's the difference between, those two mediums. And it was just kind of a fun conversation. But when I figured that out for myself, it's a big deal,
Yeah, if you're on our Discord server, I found this great video that is an explanation of why film and video look different and all the science behind it.
Oh, cool.
It's really interesting. And now I'm looking to see if I can actually find where I posted it. But
Maybe we'll bring it up next week when we talk about the episode too. We can make sure we let people know where that is.
yeah. Yes, film versus video. It's Technology Connections is the YouTube channel that made the video. So if you just search film, the reason some of the past was in HD, it's the title of the video, and it breaks it down beautifully how the two work. I'd learned it in college. I took a film class there. They kind of taught the silver processing and all that, like how it worked. And I always thought that shit was like magic.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. It's nick of time.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Freddy.